this is something that I tell myself to this day, but I tell myself like don't worry about what other people are doing. Because and the reason for that is because had I'm not saying like my path is some profound, you know, but I've done things differently than a lot of people. I thought in my heart, I'm like, okay, fundamentally here, treat people good, be consistent, provide value, be honest, be personable, and be knowledgeable, right? Like, okay, that seems like a winning formula, you know? Like, I think that I'm not going to fail if I do that stuff repetitively enough, even if I don't have any knowledge of marketing and stuff in business, which of course over time I gained just by doing it.
Mr. Austin Stout, the man, the myth, the legend. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. As I told you before, I hit a new low. You are a wizard when it comes to physique and everything. Really anything in the fitness industry, you're a wizard with it. So happy about that.
Yeah, man, we really found a nice rhythm lately. We had a bit of a rocky start,
Yep,
and
that was all my fault.
well, we've gotten past it, and we've definitely hit a good stride.
Yeah. Um, that is something that I think as we go into this episode, I kind of want to even talk about myself a little bit about some of the issues that I created myself as a client. But tell everyone about yourself. Who's Austin Stout?
Oh boy. Okay. I think most people just know my coaching persona, which is I'm not really an online persona. I'm very much the same in person, but um, I think that I think a good place to start would be if we rewind and go back to where I kind of began and why, because the industry's changed a lot. So the
For
reason
sure.
I started coaching and in my beginning and my journey is different than a lot of people in the sense that it social media was new and coaching like online coaching itself was a lot newer, right? There were people doing it, but we're talking like fraction of what there is now, right? um,
Yeah.
what we were doing was different in terms of looking at things like functional health and body systems and metabolic health and hormones and digestion and like all these things that we are very familiar with now were really in their infancy, if at all, right? Like, so I started coaching in 2009, I'm guessing. I think
Wow.
right around there. And I started in the personal training scene, right? So in person in the gym, and a lot of people back then that's where they started, right? They started in
Hmm.
that scene, and then I kind of saw this need for nutrition. That ended up being my major in school, so I was already going to college, right? I was kind of in prereqs. I was really undecided, like what I wanted to do. It was like medical field. Do I want to do physical therapy? Do I want to do psychology? Was even a consideration because that's a passion of mine. But from a business standpoint, it's an 8-year degree for like not a very lucrative, you know,
Yeah.
pathway, even though I do enjoy it. So I found that this career field really bridged the gap and gave me the best of everything. So there is a lot of psychology involved in this job, right? For better or for worse. The nutrition component, obviously, the health component, obviously. So kind of fast forward, I started with folks, adding those additional services. It kind of grew. I'm like, okay, people are paying me for this. Let's see how it goes. So basically I've been self-employed my entire adult life. My primary source of income has been self-employment the whole time.
That's amazing.
I've had a couple little odds and ends part times. Like I worked at a grocery store for like 6 months just for some extra cash. I worked at a supplement store for like 6 months. So that was probably in my first year of coaching. And then after that, I was completely full time with coaching, and I struggled a lot. Like, I didn't have money, but at the same time, I didn't have money already. So, like, I didn't have a lot to lose, you know?
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where I'm like, I think I can do this. I had never been the most, I participated in sports. Like, I was in wrestling, and I was never the most athletic person, but I worked up to a pretty high level just simply by work ethic. And I'm like, okay, I know if I'm consistent and I put in my repetitions, I'll be pretty good at this. Right. And so that was my path over time, was just repetition, repetition, repetition. And that's why, like, even to this day, it's ingrained in me. Like, I put out content pretty much almost every day, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't have to, but I do, because that's, that's my habits. That's my system. That's what got me to where I'm at. So, I'm not going to change that. But also would say that the industry obviously has changed a lot over the course of that time too. So I was probably one of the early people in the space of, like, looking at hormonal function and digestive health and all these things. Like, I had these ideas, but no one was really talking about it. So, like, I sounded kind of crazy, like, saying these things, doing things like blood work and even Dutch testing. So some of these more advanced modalities that a lot of people still aren't using, I was really doing those like 2015, is
Oh
probably
yeah.
when I was introduced to that stuff. So a lot of it came from just my own trial and error of my own mistakes, making my own mistakes, prepping and, shooting my hormones down and metabolism and all that stuff. So that's where it was a necessity. And I'm like, okay, well, these patterns are recurring in everyone else. So there's something to this, right? And then essentially what happened in our industry was it exploded because we added accessibility via social media. Like, people are like, I can track macros. Like, that's a way I can get in shape, right? And it's simple. I mean, now we know that there's a lot more to it, but then it's like, wow, that's really simple. I can do that, right? And then they added,
For sure.
they added bikini, and they added men's physique, and they added like these divisions, which now men's physique's no joke. Like, they're big guys, but
Yeah.
at the beginning, everything was toned down and it was so accessible to people, and we had this information online and all this stuff. So our industry was like, right. But of course, with that also came the amount of coaches went up also. So that's where later on, in probably 17 or 18, I want to say, I'm not 100% sure on that, I started mentoring people, right? So that's where the mentorship program came in. And people were like, I want to learn. I want to know what you know. I want to learn how to apply these things. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't really have a formal program. So I kind of started building out material and working on stuff, and over time build it up to something that's like a reputable offering and a reputable service where people seek me out for it. So
I remember that.
yeah. So I mean, I mentor anywhere from, I try to cap it. I try to cap it around like 25 to 30 people, but I'm working like 25 to 30 coaches at any given time.
Jeez.
So,
Wow.
it's evolved a lot. And then of course all the other add-ons like seminars and classes and
Yeah.
things like that too.
You do a lot of free classes too. I know I was in one a couple weeks ago. It was great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I
man.
think
Go ahead.
I might have been one of your first mentees back in the day in 2017.
I would say, I'm trying to think. You were definitely one of the first ones,
Yeah.
and it's evolved.
That
It's evolved a lot since then.
I'm sure, as everything does. I mean,
Right.
as you said, I mean, I remember when you were working with Innovate back in the day, like
Mm-hmm.
way back in the day. And then kind of re-stumbled back onto you in 2016 when I was having GI issues. And that's how you kind of, even like you just said, built up even more off the GI stuff that you'd been doing for so long. And everyone's having GI issues. No one knows what's going on with their body. And you're there to solve it. And you solved it. And I'm like, all right, well, he's got my trust for the rest of my life. He's got that. No one else can take that place. But yeah, that's That's really cool. It's cool to see how much you've grown, and the content you're putting out is, I mean, it's second to none, and it's every single day. It's something. It's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of. I mean, and there's more that goes on behind the scenes. Like I have help. You know, I have like people that like cut clips up for me, and I have people that edit stuff. Like everything's
Yeah.
my stuff. You know, I'm not using AI or having people create my content. I don't have a social media manager or any of that. But you know, but now it's evolved to the point of like I do have an assistant and coaches on the team and like and all that. So
That's awesome.
it's gotten so basically anything that I can do to just produce, and then anything else I try to delegate. Right?
Yeah. You're the brains behind the mission.
Yeah, I try. I'm the one. I'm it's client facing business, so like I'm the one interacting with the clients. Like something that I didn't want to do as things grew is like I have a difficult time, like, and a lot of people relate to this that have businesses. Like, I have a difficult time with having an assistant like intake my clients, for example. Like, I wouldn't do well with that because, I don't operate off like a generic price list all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a price list in a sense, but things vary. I mean, the thing that is probably a little different about my demographic is it's giant. Like I pretty much work with like literally anything you can think of.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I've seen that.
yeah. So a lot of people like niche down, they get that as they get bigger, they start to niche, and which is fine. And these are conversations that I have with like mentorship, with coaches and stuff. But I've never really wanted to do that, to be honest, because I find personally that I get more stimulation if I can like, have some of that, and use some of that. And in reality, the more situations that I've been exposed to, the more it sharpens my tools, right?
Yep, grow your skill set.
Yeah, because people don't realize like they don't think of a gen pop, mom post pregnancy, like how does that have any carryover to a bodybuilder prepping for a competition? Well, it does have carryover. So the carryover is that I am dealing with someone with a different lifestyle and learning how to help them manage that. So now if I get presented with some kind of other lifestyle, change in my other clients, I'm like, oh, I've done that. We can do this, we can do this, we can do this. So it's like it's literally just situations and repetition, patterns, trends.
Yeah. Well, before we go any deeper, we're drinking water.
Yes.
How much water you drink a day?
How much water? To be
Roughly.
honest, I drink a bunch of different stuff between my supplement drinks and water. I'm sure I probably drink close to 2 gallons of fluid a day, though. By the time I just get up and pee every 5 minutes.
Well, how much are you weighing now? I know you just put it in a post, I think, today. But
Yeah, I'm a little
what's your weight?
lighter. I'm a little lighter now. I'm like probably like 221, 220, 222.
You look nuts.
Something like that.
You look nuts, man.
just kind of finishing up this into this phase, and then I'll push things back up for a while.
Can't wait to see it.
I'm not looking forward to it.
Dreading all the eating.
I just get sick of eating.
Yeah. Well, as I've worked with you and I've worked with other coaches, and you see differences in coaches. You learn how certain coaches handle certain situations. You see how people post content, et cetera, et cetera. When someone's looking for a coach, what are some of the biggest mistakes they make when choosing a coach?
It's a great question.
There's a lot of variety.
Yeah. So there's a few things, like if you take a couple steps back and we look at like how are people marketing themselves, right? Like there's a few ways really. You've got people that just like myself, I don't know what label I would put on that necessarily, but a lot of my stuff's pretty straightforward. Like I post client stuff online, a lot of information. If you notice, I don't sensationalize things. right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not really my that's not my personality. And that's not how I work with my clients. I'm not a hype machine. I encourage people, like you know what I mean? I'm encouraging of my clients, and
Oh, definitely.
yes, and I support them, but I'm not a hype machine. So personally, I don't want to attract people that are overly sensationalistic and are, you know, into that hype machine, because we're probably just not going to jive,
Yeah.
right? So really, I think that when you're attracted to something, it's because it's a reflection of your personality, right?
Yeah.
For better or for worse. Like sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing. You know, a lot of it's confirmation bias. Like people are going to like look for what they already want, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might ask two or three coaches and they're like, well, this one answered the question the way I would have answered the question. I choose them, rather than like, oh, this
Yeah.
person was honest with me, I should probably choose them. Right.
Definitely. I've seen that way too much.
So like confirmation, to answer your question, confirmation bias is of course a problem when trying to select coaches. That's something that you should probably not use when you're vetting people. Um, like I tell people too, they can talk to me. I will talk about coaching, but I'm like, ask other clients of mine. Like, here's a
Mm-hmm.
few people. I'm sure they'd be fine with you reaching out. Just ask them. It's fine. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
anything to hide from you. I would much rather, and I put testimonials up and stuff like that. But I'm like, just ask them. I would much rather somebody else talk about me than me talk about myself, because I think that speaks much louder, right?
100%.
So like that's something that people can do. I think that people should also be careful with, they should know what they want in a coach too. I think that there's issues when you're getting with a coach that's of a certain magnitude. You know, people start running into issues with like response times and quality and stuff like that, where that's that's a reason that really good coaches that are bigger will cap their stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? If they really care, they'll cap their stuff. They're going to cap out, they're going to refer out, they're going to have coaches on their team, or they're going to refer to people, or they're going to wait list or something, right? So that's a concern. You know, the team, like the team cult mentality is a problem. Like, don't just go there because your friends go there. You know,
Yep. And you get a cool jacket. Yeah.
like yeah, you get a shiny jacket with a little name tag on it. Like that doesn't mean anything in terms of you
Exactly.
being taken care of as an athlete, right? The team thing is interesting because for one, this is not a team sport. Is it a sport or a venture that requires support? Potentially, yes, depending on your personality. Some people need more support than others, right? Some people are kind of introverted and they don't really require that, but others do. But you certainly shouldn't be like just going like I am a bikini athlete, so I'm going to go to team yada yada because they have a bunch of bikini athletes. But what you don't realize is they also have a shitload of turnover on their bikini athletes, and there's 300 of them, but you're only seeing 50 of them because the other
Yeah.
250 didn't get the results and didn't get the quality that you think that they're showing you, right?
Exactly.
So it's difficult, man. But I think just talking to people, I think talking to other people that have worked with that person, I tell you a really good way to do it. Talk to someone that's worked with that person that doesn't work with them anymore. See what they have to say.
Yeah.
Right. Like I have
That's
people,
good.
yeah, like I have people that don't work with me for whatever reason. They don't need me anymore. They don't compete anymore. They don't have functional health issues anymore. They don't whatever, like any number of reasons. Go ask that person, right? Because they have no stock in me at this point.
Yeah. But I think you try to, at least from my experience of working on and off with you for the last like 5 years, like you try to educate that person. So like end goal is like you're fixing this person and guiding this person to the point that they deem necessary. Like if they want to compete, cool. You'll help them get prepped up. If they don't want to do anything after that, cool. Hey, I've done my job. I've gotten you where you need to be. I've educated you enough on how to be sufficient on XYZ. Go about yourself till you need me again.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that may or may not be true, but at least that's how I feel. I mean, I feel like you've educated me so much over the last few years that whenever I have had to take a break, I'm like, okay, what did I do during this time so I don't put myself in a shitty situation?
Yeah, for sure. There are goals. There are goals and things that require long-term commitment. And I think, of course, staying with someone longer is only going to yield a better result. But
100%.
I'm not. I can give you a great example. So, like, I do a lot of one-off consults now too. Okay, so I get a lot of people with functional health issues. Let's say they have a GI issue, right? They come in, they're like, I have XYZ issue, and so I said, hey, I offer this service. It's a one-time consultation. I can take whatever information you have. If they have like a GI map or something, that's awesome because I can use it, right? Maybe they don't. I can take whatever information you have and talk to you and have you answer some questions, get on a call and formulate a plan and give you as much foresight as I can. I can project forward as best as I can because I've done it a lot of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also get a lot of situations that come in where I'm like, man, this is too much. I don't want to have you pay for a consultation if I don't think that we're going to get enough improvement to make it worth your money. I said, ongoing coaching would be better for you, but I also understand if that's not what you want. Right. I'm
There's
honest.
a lot of honesty there.
Or vice versa. Sometimes they're like, I have, whatever issue going on. I want to sign up for coaching. I'm like, okay, what's your long-term goal with this? Is it just to fix the issue, or do you have some kind of like body composition goal or something else that's going to take time? They're like, right now, I really just want to feel better. Okay, cool. I look at it, I'm like, that's actually really simple. I'm not going to charge you for coaching. Let's get on a call for the consult fee and do that instead. Well, eight out of 10 of them sign up for coaching because they like the consult, but I'm not selling them on that. I'm just being honest. I'm like, hey, this doesn't require $1,500. You know what I mean? Like, this is
people buy into you. People buy into you as the person, and the honesty goes so much further than what people think it does. Everyone's just out to do like the quick 10-week boot camp thing and make a bunch of money instead of like just being straight up with people, being honest and telling them what they need. And that, like you said, 8 out of 10 times will probably lead you into better results.
Yeah. And it goes both ways. Sometimes I'm honest, like, hey, this is not going to be accomplished in a month. I'm just letting you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that honesty, you have to be honest with people, regardless of money, regardless of emotion, like all that stuff. You just have to give it to them straight first, right? And it's difficult. Yep. It's difficult because things cost money and they're touchy subjects. Especially when we're dealing with body composition and the weight and functional health. Like, if you feel shitty and you don't like the way that you look, you're probably pretty emotional.
Yep.
It's difficult. So some people, some coaches or teams, and I'm not talking about anyone specifically, are going to use that as a marketing tool, right? They're going to use appeal to emotion, right? Or they're going to use some kind of like fear-based marketing or something. And these are all tools that we're all susceptible to this stuff. We've all bought something because of this.
Oh, for sure.
All of us, right? So coaching's no different, and it's really easy to do it with coaching because we're dealing with the way people look and the way that they feel and all this stuff. So of course they can use these marketing tools, but what happens? They come in, person signs up purely on emotional, some emotional, decision making, right? They don't stick around. They don't really have any intention of following through. They don't renew with the coach. They don't. So it's not. I've literally told people sometimes where they're coming in, they're super hyped, and they've got like a really big problem in front of them. Like, I know it's big. They don't understand how big it is. I said, hey, this is what I see. This is what it would probably entail. This is like, these are the options in terms of like cost and stuff. This is what I can do. Come back to me in like 2 days and tell me. Because most people are going to do the exact opposite. They're going to be like, sign up with me. I got him. Like, I got him on the hook, you know?
Yep.
But the thing is, the problem with that is you're 100% right. You're going to sign them up right now. But the issue is that they could end up being an awful client, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They could end up getting no results. They could end up being a horrible reflection of your business. They, you know, they aren't going to give you referrals. Like, people forget, shitty clients have friends that are also probably shitty. They don't refer people to your business. They don't really get results. So there's nothing you can talk about with, you can't market yourself with that. And you also feel bad about it because they're not getting results.
Mm-hmm.
So you genuinely are like, you're like, man, I want this person to do well, but they don't want it.
Yeah. And I think that's something that everyone struggled with before. I know I have. Even like you said, when we got started, it was a little rocky because I wanted it, but I mean, there's at one point I know you emailed me back and you're like, dude, like you gotta like make the decision to do it. Like you've just got to do it. And I'm like, damn. And from like that moment on, that you hit me with that shit, straightforward, honest, like, dude, you're the one holding yourself back. It's been great ever since then. And I just had to get it through my head again. It's uncomfortable to do the hard stuff, but once you get going with it, man, it's so rewarding.
Right.
Because it's addicting.
Yeah, and I talk to you in a certain way because you've done it before. So my pitch maybe would have been different for somebody else. But
of course, yeah. I'm not saying that as that's
right.
Austin's
So
way of going about it with anyone, but
right.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's where the psychology and stuff comes in. Like, people have to, and that's another great topic is like, when you're hiring coaches, is like, who being personable and treating you like a human being, I think is pretty important. Some people are very robotic, so it's not it's not as important to them. And I'm also not saying that the coach should be your pen pal and like message you back and forth all day.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what I'm talking about. But what I mean is that you still have a voice. Like, so for example, I have clients that are great clients. They communicate really efficiently and easily and stuff. And they, every once in a while, they have a question or a concern or something comes up. And they would tell me that before, if they said any of those things, they would just get lit up by whoever they were working with.
Really?
Right? Like, it's, blaming them, gaslighting and blaming and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, well, that, and I know these people's personality. Like, I don't think that that's the case. Right? So, you definitely want to work with somebody that can hear you if you need heard. If you're just making excuses all the time, that's kind of a different thing. But there are genuinely concerns sometimes. Like, I've had people just afraid to ask questions because they couldn't ask.
It's amazing how they get conditioned.
They couldn't ask them before,
Yeah.
Like, what?
How do you think you can like negate that? I mean, obviously going to a good coach, but is that just, you think, as simple as asking? I think that kind of sums up a lot. Asking a previous client or a current client of all these questions. Hey, do you feel comfortable talking about this? Can you ask questions? How do they speak to you whenever you mess up? Like, do they talk down to you? Like,
right.
Are there any other ways other than, you think, directly asking a client to kind of get to know who does what?
I mean, that's probably the most efficient way. But I think that I think you should be able to tell when you speak to the coach, even when you're just like emailing them or inquiring with them, is, how do they talk to you? Like, what things are they asking you first? So for example, first thing that I do, and I'm not saying people have to do this, like, everyone can do shit however they want to do it, but like, the first thing I'm doing is I'm getting information from the person. I'll have them fill out a consult form, ask them some questions, Sometimes maybe I'll go back and forth a couple times before I send the consult because I want to just make sure I know what I'm hearing, right? And so what am I not doing? The first thing is I'm not being like, here's all my packages, check it out, right? Because for one, like I don't even know if we'll be a good fit, and I don't know what their issues are. I don't really know how to give them feedback yet. So I think if a person takes your information and hears you first, that's a good sign. I think it's a pretty good sign that they weren't immediately going car salesman on you and trying to sell you something before you change your mind.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's kind of goes back to what I said earlier, is like they're going to sell it to you right now before you change your mind. But
I mean,
you know,
that's something that you did even for me in the very beginning, like going back to when I was going through some other problems, even like around the same time as the GI stuff. I was like, man, who can I talk to about this? Austin posts a bunch of good stuff with people. He's helping people with their health. I'm going to shoot him this message and see what he says back. And you were so helpful to me, like walking me through so many things, dealing with some hormonal imbalances and stuff. I'm like, this guy's helped me. I'm not like, I've talked to him 3 times. This is not a client, but he's still helping me through this stuff. Like that went so far. And I think that was just you being personal and you caring, which goes back to how does someone respond to you when you ask questions?
yeah, yeah, and of course, like I understand people are busy, and it's not you can't just sit and chit chat all day. And there's definitely a difference between like you asking me a question and somebody just trying to milk me for a bunch of free stuff. Like I can definitely tell the difference, right? So like their intentions with it. And generally people are very respectful, and I'm very respectful back, like because in my mind I'm thinking, like I think this all the time, like dude, I have all of these people that want to ask me these questions, and they've got all these other options,
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that, and I don't take those things for granted. Like I want to make sure, even if I can't work with a client and I can't help them immediately, I'm going to refer them to one of my coaches. I'm going to do something. I'm going to make sure that they have help. I've referred people like outside of my coaching network where I'm not making any money on them. I'm just like giving them like, here, go to this person because I know they can help you and I don't have time.
Yeah,
But
that's awesome.
I feel good about that. And you know what that does? Those people will tell people about you.
For sure.
Every time, dude. I can't even tell you how many times I've gotten referrals from people that I've never coached and have never paid me $1.
Referrals is the truth. I mean, that is really how you grow a business. After that, once you get moving, that is the ultimate goal. Would you agree? Like just being
100%.
referral driven?
I think so. The social media thing, because I've had people ask me about this, like, why do you post so much content? For one, I think that I do other things like mentorship and speaking and seminars and stuff. So to kind of be an authority in those realms, I think the content is helpful. But like that aside, one of the things that people do is when they, let's say like Sally refers her friend Jill to you. Sally, like Jill's probably already pretty sold on you because she was referred, right? So you don't have to really sell her anything. But what's the very first thing she's going to do? She's probably going to go to your Instagram.
Yep.
And look, if you've got nothing on there, it doesn't have to be packed. You don't have to post stuff every day. But if you have nothing on there, like you have these podcasts, that's awesome, right? She's like, oh, check it out. He's talking, he's putting out information. Immediately getting more buy-in from that. Right. So like I'm thinking like social media is kind of like a resume in a sense. Your clients are part of that. Your content is part of that. So all that stuff helps. I think.
For sure.
I mean,
that's a great way to put it. Resume. I like that.
Yeah, it's and people can do it differently. It's like sometimes, like you kind of said this, as you get bigger and grow. I mean, let's be honest. If you're big enough, you can just disappear and you don't need to post jack shit, and you're going to get referrals forever. if you're good, like if you're doing good work to where you're going to continue to get referrals. If you,
Yeah.
But it kind of depends on, it kind of depends on like how you want to position yourself. So, I would say I probably get like 25% of my clients on social media and like 75% of referral, probably. And
Yeah. You don't want to be left behind, right? I mean, social media is, like I said, it's your resume. You don't want your resume to be old. You don't want anyone to just be like, hey, who's Austin Stout? Go to your page. Like, he hasn't posted in like 4 years. Yeah, who is this guy? Does he even still coach? Like, my friend still works with him, but I don't know.
right.
It's weird. You don't want to be caught behind times of other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, we'll put it this way, it can't hurt to have it.
Exactly.
It's definitely not going to hurt you to have it there.
Yeah.
As long as you're putting out the right stuff, because like I do almost, I mean, 95% of what I post on social media is just coaching, information, educational, whatever. I don't really put a lot of personal stuff on there because, one, I really just don't care too much about that stuff, in terms of people knowing what I'm doing every second of the day.
Very true.
I mean, I do post stuff. I'll post food. I post my cats and shit sometimes, right? And I'll post little things here and there, but I think people know those little things about my personality. Oh, he watches birds at his house and he likes cats and he like does these few other things. I know that much. But I'm also not the type that does the, I don't want someone like following me around with a camera to dinner and
Yeah.
doing it. Like I can't do that personally because I'm getting bombarded all freaking day long by everything anyhow, that if I do get a moment to do something, I certainly don't want a damn camera on me or documentation. People probably think I don't do jack shit. They have no idea that I have like other hobbies and things that I like.
What are some other hobbies?
So in the winters, I like to help with local wrestling. I still coach. I still volunteer.
Oh,
I just
sweet.
volunteer. Like I go in and I'll actually go live and wrestle with the guys. So that's fun. Good cardio. And anyone tells you that bodybuilding muscles don't work, they're lying. They work. They work really well. um, I've been into cars a lot lately. So
Okay.
that's a money pit, and
For sure.
yeah. So I've been slowly building. Actually, I have a few cars now, or a couple cars now, but been working on a build for the last couple years. Just finished recently. Actually, I got car parts in here. See,
Oh man. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, dude. It's an endless money pit too. It
there's
never
some
stops.
there's some Mickey Thompson Street R's over there, and some beadlock, 17-inch beadlock rims, and some coilovers in the corner.
Yep.
And the
I hate
UPS
to
guy
say
just
it.
brought me traction.
Dude, I hate to say it, but I'm actually selling a lot of stuff out of my Forerunner because I loved rock crawling and off-roading. But having a baby in a few months, so wife's gonna be driving the Forerunner, and we're both very short people, and a 3.5-inch lift on 33 just doesn't really
Didn't
make a
work.
whole bunch of sense. But what's your build right now?
So I have a couple cars. My one that I have the most into is I've got a I've got a C5 Corvette that makes about 800 wheel.
Whoa! All right, that's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That is
It
sick.
made like 770 something, I think, to the wheel. It's a light car too. I mean, those C5s are like, they're fiberglass, so they don't weighs like 3,200 pounds, 3,100 pounds.
That's wild.
Yeah, supercharged, like fully built motor, fully built trans, drive shaft, rear diff,
That's
like the whole
insane.
thing's built. So that's what that is for. That's what those
All
stickies.
that stuff.
That's what the stickies are for. It has some on it now, but I've got to beef it up even more. And then I also have a Cadillac ATS-V, which is a twin turbo
Oh, nice.
V6. So I didn't want a CTS-V just because I've already got the Vet, which is ridiculous and
coupe.
impractical.
Yeah.
So I didn't need another V8, but it's still the ATS-V is still a pretty fun car.
It's a sedan, right?
I have the coupe actually.
You have the coupe. Okay.
They made like a limited number of the coupes. I actually have one of the coupes. It's got the full like carbon fiber package on it and all the Brembo brakes and all this stuff on it. But I also
I didn't know they
around,
made a coupe.
Dude, I also drive around a lot of the time. I have a 2006 Honda Civic or Honda Accord with all the clear coat peeling off and rust on it, and I have a 2007 Honda Ridgeline truck with like 280,000 miles on it.
That's crazy.
I drive those are what I drive most of the time.
Yeah. That's cool. 280K miles. That's a milestone.
Dude, my dad's a mechanic, so I've been around high mileage shit. Like my mom's Camry has like 400,000 miles on it. She drives it to work every day. So I'm used to high mileage stuff.
That doesn't bother you at all then. Okay, cool.
No.
I know who to call. Yeah. Austin's dad, if I needed something to go on for about 400,000 miles. Perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's been a hobby the last few years. I actually bought the Vet in cash straight up back when the market was low. You know, a few years ago around COVID, when the market was really low, like you could get them all day for great prices. I just found a guy that was trying to get rid of his, and then since then it sat in the shop for like 2 years to build everything. And now it is here. And now it gets 4 miles to the gallon, and runs on E85 ethanol, and I can't ever fucking go to the gas station hardly for it. I got to have fuel at my house and everything. Like it's,
oh my God,
it's super impractical.
You got to post about it, man. That's cool. I want to see that thing.
Yeah, I don't put much of that stuff up there, but I know I should. I know people are like, you got to post about it, but I'm like, I don't know.
Dude, cars are a cool thing, man. I'm slowly making my way into the car world from the SUV world, and it's a whole different world. Mm-hmm. But prices of everything are stupid. Just so stupid right now too.
If you want something fun, you just Civic with the eBay Turbo, dude. You're good to go.
Really,
dude? I've had a couple like 4-cylinder cars like that. I had a Del Sol. Remember those little Del Sols back in the 90s?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had a turbo Del Sol, and it was a riot. So much fun.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because it weighs like 2,000 pounds.
Like 10 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hilarious.
That's awesome.
It's not gonna be it's not gonna be insane, but they're fun.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. I didn't know all that. I feel like I've seen you post about cars, but it's been a while. But that's awesome to know that you finally finished the Vet.
Yeah. I've been driving it around occasionally.
About 4 miles here or there, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't do good.
So, what would be, sorry, getting back to everything, but what would be like some of the first questions if you were a client going to find a coach? What would be some of the first questions you'd ask to identify red flags?
So I think one of the first thing, okay, so a couple things. One, if I am going to a coach, let's say we'll give you a hypothetical. First off, I would probably, if it were me, I would probably talk to some of their clients beforehand, before you even approach the coach. That would be my personal preference. Like I think a lot of people already probably do that. I think that's probably kind of a pretty common thing. So I would probably do that first. Secondly, I would talk to some people that don't work with them anymore, and I would maybe want to know why, right? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you're going to hear things you're going to hear people say things like, that are probably have been twisted and exaggerated and stuff, right? However, what you'll find is that there are themes. So you'll find like, oh, wow, there's 3 people with the same story. Okay. Right. Like why is that happening? So you finding like this, a common problem. And if there is a common problem, so for example, like let's say I have a client that's upset and they want to leave for a certain reason. I'm probably not going to keep doing it. right? And I'm
Exactly.
probably going to try to solve it, right? If I'm doing something, I'm like, okay, well, I need to figure that out. And so, but if they are repetitively doing it, that's telling you a few things. That's telling you like either A, the plans are super, super generic and cookie cutter and people just aren't getting any attention, or B, the coach really doesn't have any, varying skill set. Like they can do things one way. That's not a good
Mm-hmm.
sign, because everyone's going to be different. And of course, if you have 100 people, it might work on 50 of them, but not the other 50. Um, maybe like quantity of clients. Like I've actually had people ask me how many clients I've had before a couple times. I think it's a question that could be useful, but it could also be, of course, the coach could lie, but it could also be a little bit deceiving in the sense that some people can handle more than others, depending on one, how many hours are they willing to work? That's one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're working 80 hours a week, you can do a lot, you know, but also like how efficient they are. So I think that one thing that people will see without even asking is how fast does a person respond to you? Like they don't have to respond to you right now. If you send them an email at midnight, they're probably in bed. They're probably sleeping,
Yeah.
right?
Hopefully.
Right. They should be, right? But how fast do they respond to you? And are they in like those first couple interactions, those first few interactions, what times are they responding to you? So like for me personally, if I had a coach and I emailed them at, I don't know, 10 in the morning to send them the information they requested, and I noticed like our first three emails, they're responding to me at like 2 a.m. Well, I know that coach is probably doing all their work from like 8 at night to 3 in the
2
morning.
a.m. Yeah.
That's not good, man. Like the problem there is they don't have, the schedule's going to be flaky. I worry about if I'm a prep client, like am I going to get a response when I need it? If we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
around shows, am I going to, are they going to forget about me? Am I going to have to wait 2 days for them to respond? Like, et cetera, et cetera. And that's actually something I've talked to a lot of my coaches about. And when the mentorship is that coaching's a job and it's a real career, and it's like you should have a schedule. Like you should have a time that you start every day. Like people are like, oh, I'm out of going to the coffee shop, go out and do this and all this fucking bullshit. And I'm like, well, it's a job.
Yeah.
Get up,
Treat it like a job.
start at the same time. You may not end exactly the same time, but like you should have a schedule in terms of when people are checking in. You should enforce these things. Like all this stuff matters. So I think that response times would be something to look for, but also like thoroughness of the response. If you can respond super fast, but it's 2 words, that doesn't really give you anything.
Yeah.
If you can get a response in a reasonable amount of time and it is thought out, that's what we're looking for.
For sure.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Huh.
you just ultimately, man, like, I think if you use a little bit of common sense, like, does this person, what's their track record? Do they give a shit about you? And you're going to know, I mean, you're going to get all the answers you need right there.
Yeah, and I would say that this goes much further than just fitness coaching.
Sure.
Like this goes to all spectrums of coaching as well.
Business in general.
Yeah.
Any business you interact with. I mean, like I've had issues lately. Like I'm busy. Like I delegate a lot of stuff. I needed some stuff fixed around my house and stuff, and I don't have time to do it. Getting anyone to do anything and respond to me. You know who I hired? The person that responded to me and communicated with me and was on top of their shit. That's who I fucking hired, because I'm like, I'm not dicking around with any of you guys. I don't care. Like maybe you're good, but you can't even.
You're not that good.
Yeah, you're not. So, and I don't expect people to like be at my every whim. That's not what I need. But I just need clear communication. If you are busy and you're 2 weeks and you're 2 weeks out from scheduling, that's cool. Just tell me that. Don't just be like, it'll probably be about 2 weeks. And then in 2 weeks, I contact you and they're like, probably about 2 weeks. I'm like, no. When?
Yeah.
If it's going to be 3 weeks, that's cool. I get it. Congrats on being successful, right? But give me something. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's professionalism.
Like, I'm paying you.
And again, the
I
honesty.
got money. You want the money.
Yeah. Exactly. Are there any other like really big mistakes that you've seen in your time coaching, of just picking a coach, or even what about being a client? I mean, like I said, I was that guy a little bit too, and I hate to say it, but human being, so it is what it is. But I mean, what about how to know when you're ready to even be a client?
That's a great question. I think from the client perspective, it's just a lot of people aren't ready to let someone else take the reins, and I get that. I get it. I've actually changed my process a lot and you probably actually saw this. So, when I send out all of your information at the beginning, I list at the end, like, I have to have your trust. I reiterate how important it is
Mm-hmm.
and how much better this process will be if you just trust me and let me do my job. So I tell people, some people they go under the mantra, like, you have to earn my trust. Okay. But what I would rather do is I would rather you already trust me before you hire me.
Exactly.
I
Or else
don't
why are you
Right.
hiring me?
Exactly. I don't want to spend the first 3 months earning your trust. We're wasting time, and it's going to be a really abrasive
Mm-hmm.
relationship. Like, it's going to be super uncomfortable and confrontational, right? So I think if you don't trust the person, either A, don't hire that person, or B, don't hire that person yet. Maybe hire them,
Yeah.
maybe again, do some of the things that we talked about earlier in the podcast, like a little more vetting, and then hire them. And I would say beyond that, like, if you trust the person, man, your process is going to be easy because you're not going to be questioning everything because you trust them, right? So
Yeah.
the second thing I would say is like, man, and this could be a whole podcast in and of itself, but is when you're communicating with the coach, like, be clear and concise in your communications, and understand that in order for the coach to provide you with a good, concise service, you need to provide them with a good, concise feedback, right? So, for example, every coach is going to have a different way that they have clients update them, some kind of template or something. So, when I'm doing it, I give it to you that way for a reason. And
Mm-hmm.
if I'm having to sift through, 14 paragraphs of stuff that is not relevant to what we're doing, then, man, that's going to make this process really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Send stuff on time. It's an appointment. I tell everyone it's an appointment. If you get an appointment to the doctor's on Thursday at 1 p.m., do you show up at Friday at 4? No, you show up at Thursday at
Yeah.
1, right? Or 12:30. So it's an appointment. Check in on time. Make sure that is integrated into your day. So if you trust the person, you provide concise feedback, and you listen and you implement, it's going to be so much easier for that coach to fix stuff. Like, those people that do a really good job at being a client, man, I can fix their problems so easy because they're always communicating properly. They're on top of their shit. So even if they have a bad week and they're like, man, this week sucked. I did this, I screwed up, right? Like, okay, cool. I know everything I need to know about you. You gave me the information. Let's fix this. I'm not mad. Let's fix it. Let's get past this. But if we're just beating around the bush all the time and you're not telling me things or whatever,
Yep.
I can't do my job. So you don't want to over deliver, but you don't want to under deliver.
Yeah. And I think people, they start to understand that, and they gain that knowledge of what to be saying over time. And I think that you've done a good job of guiding that too. And I think a good coach would guide them on what they need out of that. I mean, your
100%.
questions and what you ask for helps pull that out.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's good. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's, well, I mean, like, if you're a coach and you're asking for a certain update template or information, like we're not doing it just to entertain ourselves, you know? Like
Exactly.
there's a reason for it. And a lot of the time, like I have an update template, but I might modify it slightly depending on the client because like maybe I need something different from this person versus you or somebody else. So I modified it. So like there's a reason that I'm doing those things. And sometimes there's a reason that I'm not asking questions. Maybe I'm not asking you to do something because you're so hyper focused and fixated on it that we need to kind of back away from it for a little bit.
There's the psychology.
Right. So like
Yeah.
I got a plan, right? Like
Yep.
I know what I'm doing. So
And I think people need to realize too that like from the jump, sometimes a coach may not nail exactly
sure,
everything right from the get
for
go.
sure.
You've got to take time to figure out the person. Okay, hey, maybe you've got to follow the plan to a degree so that we can see what's going to happen with you to then adjust, right? Like this plan is set in place so we can say, hey, where's your maintenance at? Are you gaining weight here? What are you doing? How's your body responding to this? And then you can make decisions from there. I think a lot of people they get so pissed off that they don't see results in the first 3 weeks of anything that they just quit. They don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you can
that's a deeper issue.
yeah, for
But
sure. I mean, you can get pretty close. Like
yeah.
if you've done it enough, you can get pretty close, but in all reality, I tell people are sometimes mesmerized by the complexity. Like they want the coolest, most complex looking plan with like all the frills and all this stuff on it. I'm like, really, that plan isn't going to mean anything in 3 months or
Yeah,
a month,
exactly.
maybe even less. Maybe in a month that plan's not even going to mean anything anymore. Everything's going to have changed. So, you know, like I think that maybe again looking for things to be fancy and super exciting and complex and all this stuff and not understanding the fundamental reasons that the coach is doing what they're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, if you could go back in time, like when you first started coaching, and tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
One thing. Man. Well, this is something that I tell myself to this day, but I tell myself like don't worry about what other people are doing. Because and the reason for that is because I'm not saying like my path is some profound, you know, but I've done things differently than a lot of people. I thought in my heart, I'm like, okay, fundamentally here, treat people good, be consistent, provide value, be honest, be personable, and be knowledgeable, right? Like, okay, that seems like a winning formula. I think that I'm not going to fail if I do that stuff repetitively enough, even if I don't have any knowledge of marketing and stuff in business, which of course over time I gained just by doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So my my advice would be those fundamental values are really what people should probably focus on first. So don't necessarily get too caught up in all of the nuance of needing like a business coach and all this stuff right out of the gate. That may not be anything that's really should be on your radar right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's so easy to get caught up in the frills, see the cool video edits on Instagram and all this crazy stuff. And you just want to be, well, I bet that person's getting a lot of clients. I'm going to do that. And
It's
then
not
you
always
end up
true.
getting so caught up in that. Exactly. You get
Not
caught up in
always
that
true.
that you're not even focused on like what it takes to be a successful coach itself in terms of providing, value and delivering results to these people.
Yep,
Um,
dude.
for someone that wants to start being a coach, where would they begin? I mean, hiring a mentor like you.
Yeah, I mean, knowledge is first. You can't go and learn how to do some cool some cool marketing funnel and funnel in 50 clients if you don't even know how to if you don't know how to service them
Yeah.
and you don't know how to retain them. Because there's like when you look at a lot of what those things are, they're people like offering like challenges and different stuff to get people to sign up, which is fine, but the problem is that they're just going to keep turning over, and you're in this perpetual loop of doom, and you never get anywhere. So knowledge first. Worry about taking care of the people that you have first, because those are the people that will send you business. So yes, market yourself, but also you should still have more focus on the people that are paying you right now, because they're going to send you other people.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important.
Last question, and this is something that I'm interested in myself. This is kind of a selfish question. I mean, all this whole podcast is pretty selfish. I'm not gonna lie, but everything about it. But what's a day in the life, for you?
Okay, pretty boring, but I'll give you the rundown. So today, got up, fed my cats and dogs, took my morning dump, and
Hell yeah.
basically when I sit there, I sit there, I clear all the notifications on my phone, answer any Instagram messages or DMs that I got from last night. I'm not out in the yard with my shoes off meditating.
You're not?
Sorry, guys.
Oh, dude, that's too bad.
So I do that. Sometimes I'll get something to drink in the morning. Sometimes I'll have coffee. Sometimes I won't. Have some health supplements in the morning, and then I pretty much, dude, I'm on this laptop at 6:30 usually and working. So mostly I get the majority. I have a system down. Like most of my updates come from about 6 in the morning to probably like 11. Of course, I get some stragglers, like time zones. Like there's some stuff that happens.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's just like balls to the wall updates going. I'll get one meal in there as well, right? And then on the days that I train, I'll train in the middle of the day. And the reason I train in the middle of the day is because there's like a little bit of a tiny dead spot. There's never a full dead spot, but there's a little bit less. Get my training out, come back, clear any other emails that I have, and then around probably 3 to 4 o'clock start calls. So that'll be mentorship, that'll be podcasts, that'll be IG lives, that'll be anything like that, from probably 3 or 4 up till maybe 7. And then if there's anything else I got to do, I'll do it. And any gaps in there is where I'll quickly record like a video, or if it's like a Q&A or stuff like that, I'll kind of like supplement those in little spaces. But I'm on the move. I'm pretty much going. Every once in a while I'll sneak in like I'll close my eyes and lay my head down for like 5 minutes. But
do you work on the weekends?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's not like weekends. If I have stuff to do, I try to get up in the morning, like at a good time, and get some stuff done, because I feel if I need to do it, I feel better about just kind of like getting it done rather than like stopping my day at 4 p.m. and coming back and doing it. You know what I mean? So, so they're definitely not 14-hour necessarily working like 14 hours straight on the weekend days, but there's always some stuff.
Yeah. Well, let that be a testament to everyone watching this thing that the whole like, hey, make 10K a month and work 3 hours a day may very well not be feasible for 99.9% of the people out there.
Yeah, unless you have some really good passive income stream, which I'm actually trying to get into. I'm about to start in some real estate, so I'm hoping to get some passive income there. But dude, you got to crank, man. People don't realize, like, the coaches I know that are successful freaking work.
Yeah.
A lot.
Nonstop.
A lot. Yep.
But that's awesome. It shows you're passionate, and you care a lot. Well, cool, man. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'll let you get to some other calls or podcasts we've got going on today. or whip it around in the vet. But how can people connect with you?
So social media is easiest. So if you go to my Instagram, Austin ST, and then the number 8, and in my bio there's a link tree. So Linktree has, YouTube channel, has my Facebook on there, so you can go there. Clothing like merch stuff for integrated muscle and health. My emails in my bio, so any inquiries for consults, coaching, mentorship, podcast. You want to have me on podcast, whatever. Email's easiest. So everything's kind of in that link tree. That's the easiest way
Cool.
to find what you need.
I'll make sure everything's in the description down here in the video and everywhere else the episode goes to.
Thank you, buddy.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
We'll see you.